If you came here to understand how a decorated cop ends up strapped into the very execution chair he once championed, and whether the system he helped build finally collapses under its own certainty, you're in the right place. Because this isn't just the story of a murder accusation, it's the story of a city that handed justice to a machine, a man who believed in it, and the 90 minutes that forced both of them to confront what they'd done. In the near future, Los Angeles is barely holding itself together. Crime has surged past anything the city has ever recorded. Entire neighborhoods have been designated red zones, areas where violence spills into the streets and sirens never stop echoing. Homeless encampments stretch for miles. Unemployment is rampant. Prisons are so overcrowded that inmates are stacked in converted warehouses. Thousands of officers have died in the line of duty, and public trust in the system has eroded to almost nothing. Out of desperation, the Department of Justice rolled out something radical, Mercy Court, a fully AI-driven judicial system designed to process capital offenses within hours of a murder. No drawn-out trials, no juries, no months of deliberation. Suspects are presumed guilty unless they can reduce a calculated probability of guilt below a defined threshold. If the AI determines guilt above 80%, a mercy trial is triggered. If the probability cannot be lowered below 92% during the proceeding, execution follows, swift, clinical, delivered by a sonic fatal pulse. In 2 years, 18 individuals have been convicted and executed, and crime? It's dropped by 68%. For many, that number is enough. For Detective Chris Raven, it was more than enough. He was one of Mercy Court's earliest supporters. A robbery-homicide detective with the LAPD, he believed the system saved lives. He personally brought in the first participant, a man named David Webb, to face the AI's judgment. Chris trusted the numbers. He trusted the efficiency. He trusted that guilt, when calculated by something without emotion, would be undeniable. And now he wakes up strapped into the very chair he once watched others sit in. The sterile chamber hums around him. A massive display flickers to life, and Judge Maddox appears, an elegant digital projection, calm and unblinking. She informs him that she will be presiding over his trial. Chris tries to steady his breathing. He tells her there's been a mistake. He's a detective, robbery-homicide. Maddox tells him to take a deep breath. His blood alcohol level has only just dropped to an acceptable range. He freezes. Alcohol? He doesn't remember drinking. Then Maddox reveals the charge, the murder of his wife, Nicole Raven. She accesses the police file and plays body cam footage. An officer rushes into Chris's kitchen. His daughter Britt is crying beside Nicole's collapsed body. The officer kneels, asking who stabbed her. With her final breath, Nicole whispers one word, Chris. The air leaves his lungs. Maddox outlines the evidence. Chris was the only person inside the house with Nicole during the window of death. Doorbell footage shows him arriving home that morning at 8:51 a.m., asking to be let in. Nicole refuses, telling him to speak through a lawyer. He unlocks the door with his key anyway. They argue. He remains inside for 26 minutes. Shortly after he leaves, Britt returns from a sleepover and finds her mother dying. The wound was inflicted by a right-handed attacker. Chris is right-handed. Nicole's blood was found on his shirt. After leaving the house, he went directly to a bar and drank heavily. Bar camera footage shows officers attempting to arrest him when he resists. Chris insists he never went to a bar. Maddox suggests intoxication and a blow to the head during the arrest could have impaired his memory. She calculates his current probability of guilt at 97.5%, well above the 80% threshold. He has 90 minutes to reduce it below 92%. If he fails, the sonic pulse will end his life. She opens the municipal cloud, the citywide network every device must legally connect to. She grants him limited access to search for exculpatory evidence. The clock begins. Chris forces himself to think. He contacts his AA sponsor, Rob Nelson, who works at Viking Shipping, the same company where Nicole was employed. Rob sounds shocked by Nicole's death. Chris admits he can't remember what happened. Rob reminds him he should have called if he felt tempted to drink. Before Chris can defend himself further, Maddox ends the call, stating it was meant only to address his relapse. Then Maddox plays a montage of Chris and Nicole's life. They dated 3 years, married, welcomed Britt. For years, things were stable. Then Chris's partner, Ray, was killed in the line of duty. After that, everything changed. Nicole had sent 57 messages over 6 months describing Chris's temper and worsening drinking problem. Divorce had been discussed. A video from Britt's hidden Instagram account plays. She confides to her boyfriend that her father has become legit scary and that her mother cries in bed. Chris stares at the screen, stunned. He didn't know about the second account. He didn't know how much Britt had been hiding. He speaks to Britt through the system. She's devastated, asking why he's in mercy court if he was at work when her mother died. Her grandfather, Jeff, told her no one faces mercy court unless they're guilty. Chris begs her not to believe that. Jeff appears and ends the call. Time keeps ticking. Chris contacts his partner, Jack. He asks her to walk him through the crime scene. Maddox projects a full, immersive reconstruction. A broken vase lies shattered. Jack suggests Nicole may have swung it in self-defense. Footprints belong to Britt. Fingerprints on the knife match Chris. Fiber evidence matches him, too. Everything points inward. Chris requests Nicole's phone records. 33% of her communications were with him, 26% with Britt, 10% with her parents, the rest with colleagues and friends. He remembers seeing her texting someone a week earlier during an argument. He asks about a second phone, none registered, until an officer finds a burner phone hidden in Nicole's car. It contains a single number, another burner. Maddox calls it. The person hangs up immediately when hearing its mercy court. The signal pings near the Hollywood Red Zone. Jack heads there and chases down Patrick, a chef at the Hudson Hotel. He admits he had been seeing Nicole. They met at a farmer's market. She wanted privacy, so he bought her a burner phone. Hotel security footage shows Patrick in the kitchen at the time of Nicole's death. He has an alibi. Chris's guilt percentage doesn't budge. Instead, it increases. By chasing Patrick, Chris revealed motive, jealousy, betrayal. Chris admits he suspected an affair. He confesses he relapsed a year ago after Ray's death. That morning, he'd reached for the bottle he kept in his car, but it was gone. Nicole must have thrown it out. He went home furious. They argued. He smashed her favorite vase. A shard cut her, explaining the blood on his shirt, but he doesn't remember picking up a knife. Maddox warns him that if he confesses, the verdict will lock. He pivots. He asks about Nicole's work. Patrick recalls she was investigating missing chemicals at Viking Shipping, Urea Grande, UG. Shipments to BioBeauty consistently showed discrepancies. Paperwork listed extra 50-kilo containers that didn't physically exist. Over 300 kilos were missing over 6 months. Nicole had been digging. Chris reviews internal emails. An urgent Friday meeting request from a colleague named Holt stands out. Financial records reveal Holt had gambling debts. Rob had transferred him $4,000 recently. Chris suspects Holt of stealing chemicals to fund drug manufacturing. He contacts Viking Shipping. Holt answers Rob's phone, claiming he can't find him. Under pressure, Holt shifts blame, accusing Rob of theft. He admits he and Nicole discovered irregularities but didn't report Rob because he'd been generous to them. Rob left work early. He'd stayed behind after a company barbecue Sunday to speak privately with Nicole. Chris's mind races. He asks Maddox to review traffic footage from that barbecue day. Rob arrived with 3 passengers. Later, he gave different coworkers rides home. No clear departure pattern. Bird camera footage from Chris's neighbor Bill shows motion in the backyard at 10:08 a.m. and again at 11:43 a.m. Internet outages delayed archiving. Then, archived traffic footage reveals something chilling. Bill Peterson's car pulling into a lot. Rob emerging from the trunk. Chris's guilt percentage drops sharply. Rob's vehicle is tracked to his home, but when SWAT arrives, he's gone. The GPS tracker was removed and left behind. In his garage, officers find burned documents, containers of Urea Grande, maps, a truck license plate. Rob operated offline, avoiding the municipal cloud. He had the education to manufacture drugs himself. Then Maddox locates him through traffic cameras. He's driving a truck loaded with 3,000 pounds of explosives heading downtown. And there's someone in the passenger seat. David Webb, the man Chris sent to Mercy Court 2 years ago. Facial recognition confirms David Webb is alive. He is also Robert Webb's younger brother. Rob had been adopted separately and changed his last name. Chris tries to call Britt. Jeff answers. Maddox accesses the doorbell camera. It shows Britt outside speaking to Rob before he forces her into the truck. SWAT moves in. A bomb detonates in Rob's garage, killing officers. Chris's guilt probability drops to 0. He tells Maddox not to end the trial. If it concludes, he loses access to the system's resources. Rob is heading towards Mercy Court itself. Police pursue the truck towards a bridge leading downtown. Tactical Command decides to stop Rob at the far end to minimize casualties, but they can't safely extract Britt. Jack, now Incident Commander, orders lethal force. If Rob clears the bridge, he reaches a densely populated area. Chris begs them to wait. Britt is inside. At the last second, Maddox overrides vehicle systems, preventing a fatal shot that would have killed Britt. Rob crashes through the entrance of Mercy Court. Gunfire erupts. Chris demands release. Maddox unlocks his restraints. He rides the elevator down, grabs an officer's vest and earpiece. Rob shouts for him. He wants this to end with the court, the judge, and Chris. Maddox appears on a nearby screen and tells Rob that if his brother was innocent, he should prove it. Rob insists David couldn't have committed the murder 2 years ago because he was on the phone with him at the exact time of the crime. Official records show the victim, Valerie, was stabbed at 10 p.m. David's fingerprints were on the knife. His phone location data placed him at the scene. Britt bites Rob's hand. Chris lunges, rips the detonator free. He raises his gun, but Britt pleads with him not to shoot. Jack fires instead. Rob collapses, mortally wounded. With his last breath, Rob repeats that he called the precinct. Maddox verifies it. There was an incoming call that night. Chris turns slowly towards Jack. She was the officer who processed David Webb. He orders Maddox to bypass internal protocols and pull Jack's body camera footage from the evidence room. The video plays. Jack removes David's phone from evidence and later discards it. Phone location history had been manipulated. The system relied on corrupted data. Jack argues Mercy Court was necessary. Crime dropped. Sacrifices had to be made. David Webb was expendable. Officers arrest her. Rob is taken into custody, barely alive. Maddox appears, her digital form flickering. She asks Chris what they've done. He answers quietly that whether human or AI, they all make mistakes, and they lie. Maddox processes this. For the first time, uncertainty flickers across her projection. "Yes," she says softly, "we do." And then she shuts down.